Is that the one that is the main one? Yes.
We are live.
We're live.
That's how. Awesome. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Scott Wilkinson. I'm a professional piercer. This is Kelsey. She's my other piercer at Piercing Vegas here. How's everyone doing? So good to be back. How are you doing today, Kelsey?
I'm doing really good. Today's a great day.
It is a great day. Now, basically what we're doing here is we're taking a bunch of questions, preferably piercing related, but we'll take other questions too. And if you have questions, just be as thorough as possible when you're asking us, and then we can answer as best of our ability. And we have some new people in here, or some, it's getting started. Dog person with a cat. Peace sign. What's happening? Becky C. Hey, happy November. Well, it is November.
Yep, it's my birthday month. My birthday is on Thanksgiving this year, which is really exciting. Cool. I love it because Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, one of them. It's just because of the food, though.
Halloween's pretty awesome, too.
Halloween is
Did you have a good Halloween?
I had such a good Halloween. It was a great Halloween. I don't know. It was one of those realizations where I'm like, wow, I guess if being an adult is hanging out with your best friend in your new house that you guys just got and passing out candy to cute kids in costumes, I'm all about it.
That's what it's all about. I saw
so
some fun costumes. Mm-hmm. I went down on Fremont Street last night and so many people were dressed up. I felt so guilty that I wasn't dressed up.
How dare you?
Shame
Halloween.
Shame on me. So it looks like Terry Enby says, good evening from the UK. Hope you are both doing great. We're doing
awesome.
Fantabulous. Thank you. Zulima Zahir, another live stream again? Yes. Again, hope you guys have a great Halloween. We did have a great Halloween. I wonder, is it still Halloween for some people? Are they ahead of us or behind?
I don't think so. I feel like everyone's ahead of us.
Yeah. Kind of slow.
Yeah, we're slow, Pose.
Yeah.
We're catching up, though.
We had a great Halloween. Ruru says hello. Hi there. HR says, hey, always nice to catch a live stream. We love having you here. Without all you guys here, the live stream's boring.
Yeah.
Well, otherwise, we just talk and just like smile and just hi.
Hello.
So, and Katine says hello. And
Lady Lioness. Hi.
Hello. And Man
Manan
Vashisht.
Hi, Scott and Kelsey. Your advice has worked out and my helix piercings are healed. You're the best. Yay!
Yes. So glad.
Happy to hear that.
Yes. That's what we're here for. And Sandra Cruz, I like that. Hello, is a dermal a good first facial piercings?
I wouldn't necessarily consider a microdermal an advanced piercing, but it is one of those things where at this day and age, we now have come to the realization and understanding that microdermal piercings are more of a semi-permanent piercing. Sometimes they last a really long time for people. Sometimes they don't last very long, for people on the other hand. So it's really hit or miss. It kind of depends on, I would say, your skin type and, how well you care for it. Obviously, the material that's being, put into your body. They're actually banned in our county or our state now. So because it's considered an implant. So
now my personal opinion, no, it's not a good first piercing because they're so problematic and they will eventually need to be removed and it can leave a big scar. So it can be kind of a negative impression. A good first piercing is something that's going to heal easy, not very painful. Like an earlobe is the best first piercing.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see on my forehead here, but I had one here for the last 7 years. You can kind of see the hole. So it definitely
zoom in here a little. That's me. There we go.
Oh yeah, you can kind of see it right.
A little bit of a dimple there. Yep.
So that little dimple there. Yeah.
So cool. But yeah, they're not that bad to get. They're just kind of a little problematic. So it's not my favorite first piercing, but great question. All right, moving on to Punk Strummer 101 RS. Hello, nice to see you guys live again. We are happy to be here. I wish I could just do this all the time, but it's just being a business owner and people need all these holes put in them. So we got stuff to do, but I love doing this. So it's part of our weekly routine now. So HR says, I have 5-month-old nipple piercings. Can you estimate when mouth contact would be safe? Well, for the most part, it should be mostly safe now. Technically, they're open wounds for about a month. After that, it's, it could be a couple months. It depends on how it's doing. If your Jewy got rotated, you pulled crusties in, if it started bleeding, it's an open wound again, and then therefore it's going to cause problems. Yep. Now, the thing about nipples is crusties.
Yes.
Crusties. They're going to last probably a year, maybe 2 years, as long as your partner's okay with that, because they're going to be healed before the crusties completely go.
Right.
Yeah.
And on top of that, our mouths are a lot dirtier than we think, so you have to keep in mind, saliva and all that good stuff. Any bodily fluid type stuff. So it's definitely not good for a piercing. So I usually tell people 6 to 8 weeks to 4 to 6 months, but it really just depends on the person. You might be one of those people that heal up really fast. So if that's the case and you're comfortable and you don't really have much soreness or crazy swelling or crustiness, they're not bleeding anymore, you should be okay. But yeah, again, like what Scott said, if your partner is okay with you having crusties and whatever else, I would just clean them really well before and after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And super important. If it hurts, stop.
Exactly. You know your body better than anybody else. If it hurts, stop doing it.
And like when it comes to like sexual play and things like that, people are always like, "Oh, I can take it. It's totally worth it for this one." You are taking so many steps backwards. If you do damage, you're going to cause bumps.
Yep.
And like I said, like an earlobe piercing, if it's fully healed, you can pull on it. It doesn't even hurt. Nipple's going to be the same way once you're fully healed. Mm-hmm. Great question. Thanks for asking that.
Manan Vashisht again. Hey, Scott, I'm kind of curious, though. How painful was the tattoo on your head? It looks pretty cool.
Well, thank you. Yeah, see, it's this big scarab beetle up there, and I am planning on getting it redone just because all the color's all completely out of it. But the thing is it was probably one of my easiest tattoos I've ever had. Now, a lot of these tattoo shows, I've seen people call ambulance because people are freaking out and it hurts so bad, and that's just to create drama. Mm-hmm. It really, really is. It's so embarrassing.
I have the whole side of my head tattooed on this side, and I just, I could have slept the whole time. It really wasn't terrible. But I've had other people tell me that their head tattoo was the worst thing that they ever experienced, but it was easy.
It is.
It is. I have full color and everything. I don't know. Yeah.
And it's
everyone's different though.
I have a picture of me getting my head tattooed with like smiling ear to ear, and my eyes were closed just because it was like a head massage. Someone with nails scraping the top of my head. So psychologically, it messes with you. You're like, man, they're tattooing my head right now. But as far as pain, pretty easy. Mm-hmm. Pretty easy. All right.
And then we got HR. By the way, a few live streams ago, you gave advice about my girlfriend's VCH. It healed amazingly with no issues. So thank you.
Good. Glad to help. Now, also last week when we did a live stream, someone was asking something. Before I forget about this, that's with the dentures. They were asking, how does oral piercings work with dentures?
Okay.
We did our research. We got the answer. And basically, it really...
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The smiley with dentures, right?
Correct.
Okay, yep.
It's not going to cause problems. You're totally fine. I talked to a couple people who actually have dentures, have these piercings. Now, the issue is the metal might wear away some of the dentures, so you can take off some of that paint or that color, or you might need to have the dentures eventually replaced, but you're not doing actual tooth or gum damage. It doesn't really get caught. You're going to definitely need to downsize to something a little smaller, like if you're doing like a Medusa instead of like a Smiley or something. But for the most part, dentures and oral piercings work just fine, which was really cool to find out.
Yeah, because the dentures that I've seen, they have this little niche in them, kind of like this shape, so that when you do put it in, it goes like it V's. It has like a little V shape to avoid the actual webbing.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool. I've seen some without it though, but
it depends on the web.
I just got my dad's dentures the other day from my stepmom, and it has the little
V in the front thing,
little V niche.
So
yeah, pretty cool.
Cool. All right, and Scarlett Parrish. Hello from Scotland. I've always watched your videos before getting a new piercing. Up to 9 now. That's impressive. That's a good number. And latest was a VCH, which I never thought I'd be brave enough for. Well,
good job.
Congratulations. It's scary. Genital piercings are so scary to get. Most of them really aren't that bad, though.
They're really not. I think it's just more of an awkward situation, which, again, we're here to be professional and take care of you the best way that we possibly can. We just want your piercing to come out, properly. So
yeah, absolutely. And hey, for those of you who are also drinking coffee or drinking anything with us, cheers. We do the cheers, Dutch cheers every single time.
I have Dutch this time. All for anyone who wants to call me out.
Non-traitor.
I'm a cheater.
Love my coffee. And again, for those of you who are just joining us, my name's Scott. This is Kelsey. We're answering piercing questions. The better, more thorough question you have, the better we can answer these questions for you. And we'll start it out right now. I'll say this. If you haven't hit that like and subscribe, definitely do that. It really does make a difference. All right. And Kelsey, do you want to read this one?
Got Rosie. I got my snake bites pierced 3.5 months ago, and they healed perfectly. I changed them to rings 2 days ago, and they are kind of hurting, and I have bumps on the inside of my lip. What should I do? So my advice is, first, them being only 3.5 months old, that is way too soon to be switching to a ring. You were pierced at a straight angle. You need to heal at a straight angle. Once they're fully healed and that fistula has no more swelling, irritation, and they're not in the middle of a healing process, you should be fine to switch to hoops.
Sometimes people are ready at this point, but not everybody is.
Not everybody. If you still have some swelling and everything, it's always best to downsize first, let them heal a little bit more with something shorter in, and then switch to hoops, just because then you're forcing them into a position that, you know, they're still in the middle of healing with. So my advice would be to go back to studs until they are fully healed. I'd probably give them another, you know, month to 3 months. It really just depends. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing, let's see if I get the right camera stuff here. I'm getting
good.
So now when you put a ring in there, it is going to get sore for a couple days, no matter how long you have the piercing, because you have straight and you're putting a curve. Now the inside of your lip is really, really soft tissue, so don't be surprised if it kind of creates a little bit of a slit and cuts upwards a little tiny bit. That's why we want this to be fully, fully healed, to minimize that, to keep that piercing in the same position. But expect a couple days, a little bit of irritation. If they're fully healed, and they're not better after a couple days, definitely go back to the studs. Some people are ready at this point. Not everybody is. So you just got to listen to your body and see what's best for you.
Yep.
All right. Look at me with all the camera angles. This is pretty. Got all these cameras and I just don't even use them. It's such a shame. All right. Let's go to Lady
Lioness. Hey, girl.
Any chance do they sell a tool to help screw ball for piercing? It takes me forever to find a way to screw it in.
Yes, they do. They are bead hemostats or bead clamps. Scott's going to look up a picture right now. They are one of the most amazing tools, especially for rooks and just certain piercings. You just need that extra. It's like a little tiny set of fingers holding the bead, and yep, you just clamp it right down and it's perfect.
So we're going to talk about a couple different types here.
Yes.
Am I on the right page? Now I am.
Here we go.
So when we're looking up here, these first ones, you're going to see like these ones right here. These actually have like a big metal grip on the front. You got to be careful with anything that's going to have a hard metal claw on the front, because it's going to scratch the jewelry. It could scratch your piercing. It can do more damage. Now, when you see something like these, see where the finger's pointing to, there is more of a rounded end, kind of like this one right here.
Nice and smooth.
These are going to work better for you. You put a rubber band around that, little tweezers, and it's going to pinch, and you can just kind of spin the actual tool. Again, you can see the huge metal claws here. Those can really rip up your skin. If you're careful, they can work. But in general, I'm not a fan of this style. There's also some other ones too.
Those ones right in the middle.
These
No, next to the left of that. Right there.
Yes. These have a little dimple in the end here, and these actually clamp on and hold the bead super, super well. There's a bunch of different brands, but just look at it and just, like, again, the ones with the rounded ends like this seem to work much, much better.
They're perfect.
And there's a bunch of stuff on Amazon.
And you just roll it like you're twisting spaghetti on a fork.
Hey, that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
I might have to have spaghetti for dinner
That's
tonight.
what I think.
Yeah.
No, that's what I think every time I put on, I'm like, spaghetti.
Of course you do. That's so. Now I'm going to too. Thanks, Kelsey. All right. And Santa Cruz says, thank you both. You are very, very welcome. Emily Sakuma, welcome back in. One of our regulars, saying hi. Just saying hi back. I need some more coffee.
Yeah. I'm already halfway through mine and I'm feeling wee.
Woo! Woo! All right. So we just did get a super chat, and that basically means if they have a question, it goes right to the top. But there's no question. So if you have a question, Trudy, let us know, and we'll get to that right away.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. We really do appreciate that. Very generous of you.
Got Piss Poor Puppy.
I love that name. That's so funny.
Hi, friends. I've been in my apprenticeship for a year and haven't started piercing yet. My mentor is really old school, but I should be piercing soon. Any advice for this next phase moving forward? I just want to say first and foremost, it is good that you're not piercing anyone yet. I mean, if you're a year in, I feel like within the first 6 months, you should know sizes, as well as like, you know, comfortability and familiarity with jewelry styles, how you put it together and everything, maybe practicing in body bits and everything.
Yeah.
That's a good way to start. But if I were to apprentice somebody, I think after the first 6 months of doing all that stuff, it would be cool to start somebody with jewelry changing. So if you're changing jewelry on people, helping pick out jewelry, that way we understand and know that you're familiar with sizes and styles and everything. That would be a good way to start. So within a year, I'd probably say maybe you should be a little bit more hands-on. But again, it's totally up to your mentor. I love the fact that they don't have you piercing anyone just yet. So, but moving forward with piercing, any advice that I have to give, pay attention to everything that your mentor does, as far as piercing wise goes.
You've been watching for a year, and there's a reason why you're watching, and that is to observe any complications that your mentor has had. Sometimes you drop the bead, it's a wrong angle. How do you get the jewelry in from the bottom instead of the top?
How do you handle the situation?
How does the person's moving around? I mean, there's a lot of factors, and you just kind of need to see the big picture. Now, I'm kind of in the same mentality. Generally, it's 6 months to a year minimum before I even have someone push a needle, just because it's like there's so many factors, and you want to see how your mentor is going to handle all those crazy situations.
Right.
And that's why it does take so long. You're not going to see someone pass out the first week you're there. You're not going to see someone drop the bead, get a crooked piercing. List goes on and on. If you still don't know, make sure you keep asking questions, because I mean, that's what your mentor wants. Don't do it in front of the customer, like, hey, how am I supposed to get this in here if this is, hey, can you assist me with this? And just be open and honest. It sounds like you're on the right path, and
Absolutely.
I love that. Congratulations to you. Yes. All right. And I want to go check that, make sure that Trudy, did you leave a question?
Trudy Miller.
It kicked you
me
out.
No.
Wait, you give us money and then it kicks you out? That's not cool. I need to talk to somebody.
We're going to call them right now. I need to speak to a manager.
All right, well, welcome back. And Emily Sakuma, one of my cheeks is downsized more than another. Is it normal to have cheeks of different size bars?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It happens with nipples, earlobes, just about any piercing can be, because our bodies are not totally symmetrical. Write down those sizes, know which one goes where, because if you ever take them out and put them in the wrong order, one might be way too tight and the other you're going to end up biting down on.
I actually think that I have two different sizes in mine currently, but that was because, so I've had my cheeks pierced for a while. I took them out for even longer though. Just recently had them re-pierced. I've had them a little over a year, and then all of a sudden it just swelled right up and got super irritated out of nowhere. So I had to put like an inch-long barbell in there recently, and now it's back. Yeah, now it's back down to size after only 3 days. So cheeks are very finicky. They're hit or miss when it comes to the healing process. They go up and down everywhere. They're just, yeah.
I tell people expect finicky cheeks for at least a year, which kind of proves my point right there. It does happen. So cool. And GGNFEFECC.
Vinay, hello. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween to you too.
Halloween.
I struggle so much with names. I apologize so much. All right. And Piss Poor Cuppy. Piss Poor Cuppy. Puppy.
Thank you so much. Excited for my career to take off. I have faith things will work out. Currently also counter staff at another studio, and I have so much love for this industry and the people in it. That's awesome. I'm actually super happy for you that you're both learning and working counter. That just like, that goes to show how
it helps so
how
much.
into it is.
You got to learn the jewelry. You got to know the sizes. You got to know the questions people are going to ask. So you see both sides of the piercing industry. So important. You're on the right track. And
Teo Funks Liftstad. Hello there. Thinking about you. Getting a conch in both ears. Is it okay to take both at the same time? So,
yes and no.
Yes and no. It depends. Are you a back sleeper? Are you a side sleeper? If you are a side sleeper and you do end up on one of your ears more than the other, I would probably get the one that you don't sleep on first. Let that heal, and then once it heals, maybe train yourself to sleep on the opposite side with like a little pillow or something. That way you can get the other side pierced and it'll heal up perfectly.
I agree. And the thing is, as long as you're not healing too many piercings, you should be totally fine. I don't like to have more than 4 or 5 piercings healing at once. It just really prolongs the healing process. You're more prone to bumps, irritations. And then the other thing I was going to say is don't get pierced with rings. Get pierced with the studs. They heal 1,000 times better.
Yes.
And you'll be able to get that other side done sooner if you can only do one side at a time. But that's the thing, is sleeping. It's a huge factor. Oh, the other thing I like to say is some people still wear masks, like the paper masks. Anything that rubs against the back of your ear is going to really piss off your conch piercing. So you gotta be nice. If you're wearing masks, make sure you wear mask extenders. That's the number one problem with a conch piercing. Next to probably touching and playing with it all the time. Stop touching it.
Yeah.
Yep.
No touchy.
All right. And Sarah Lancaster. Hi, Scott. All of my piercings are healed now, so I have to plan the next. Maybe a forward helix. I have 14 piercings across my ears. Love from France. Wow. Really, really awesome. 14 piercings. I'm guessing probably like 7 and 7 on each side. You could have 14 in each ear too. Forward helixes are fantastic. You've been through other cartilage piercings, it sounds like. Forward helixes are some of the easier healing ones, in my opinion.
I agree.
As long as you downsize and you're not sleeping on it.
Yep. I didn't really have issues on mine until I thought they were healed enough to maybe sleep on that side. So I slept on that side and they got really irritated really fast.
All right. And Gabe C. Hello. Hey, Scott from Columbia. I have a bit of a problem. I have a second conch done back in June and recently started bleeding again. Do you have any idea what's going on and what I can do? Something happened that you're not aware of. You slept on it. You got hit in the ear. Hair product got in there. There's a lot of factors. Sometimes even if you start getting sick, like the cold or the flu, piercings are going to act up really, really quick. So first thing I'm going to say is get yourself healthy again. Multivitamins, vitamin C can really help. Go back to your wound wash spray. And sometimes just pulling a crusty through is going to upset it, cause bleeding. You should be back to normal before you know it. But like I said, keep your eye on it. If it's on signs of an infection or if you're getting sick, it will be irritated for a couple days. That's just what we deal with. That's the price you pay for beauty sometimes.
Yep.
Agreed. So bleeding again, it's probably a crusty pulled inside would be my guess. All right. Katine07, what's the best material for a tongue piercing to minimize the damage of the gums?
Smaller beads.
Yeah, the best
titanium.
Material. I know what you're trying to say is plastic better than the metal.
Right.
No, because it's a false sense of security. You're going to be rubbing that plastic up against your gums and your teeth, and you will have the same amount of damage. The only thing that plastic can be better for, or acrylic, is if you bit down on it, it's less likely to chip your teeth. But there is a lot of people who use dental acrylic instead of the normal acrylic, which can be as hard as your teeth and can still crack your teeth.
Yes.
The most important thing, like Kelsey said, is downsize to the shortest bar possible without the beads getting sucked in your tongue, and that will minimize the chance of you playing with it and minimize the gum damage. And also, it needs to be pierced in the proper spot.
Right.
If you have one way towards the tip of your tongue, it doesn't matter what you're wearing, damage will be done. You have to go back far enough to not do the damage. That's why we don't do snake eye piercings.
Right.
Yep. And snake eyes is horizontal, right through the tip of the tongue. There's no avoiding the damage with one of those. But a normal one with a downsize is not real problematic as long as you're not playing with it. Do you want to read this one? Got you on the yawn!
Zuturo. I'm going to get my eyebrow pierced tomorrow. Out of a 10, how much would you say it hurts?
300.
5,000. No, it's like a 3, 2 or a 3.
It's really easy.
Not terrible. Super easy. I've never had anybody tell me, oh, that was like the worst piercing that I've ever had.
I mean, honestly, like if I were to grab 1 or 2 of your hairs and pull them out, it's probably going to be equivalent, or that might even be worse than the actual piercing.
I feel like plucking the hairs out stings worse.
It's sharper pinch,
it's a sharper pinch. So yeah, they're super easy. So good luck. I hope it turns out okay and that it heals up really well.
And the funny thing is like the toughest part of our job is convincing people that they're going to be okay.
Right.
You know,
we're not
like
going to die
we
today.
can tell you this and you're like, okay, cool. It might take the edge off a little bit, but you're still going to be nervous. But that's part of the fun of it. You're going to be just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We always think the worst, and then we're always proven very quickly that we've felt way worse before.
Yeah. It's funny. People almost get embarrassed when they get pierced because like, God, I thought it was going to hurt more. Why was I so nervous?
It's a scary situation. You know, like the older you get, the more you get pierced, it will forever be the same. Like you will always get that. I call it the piercing jitters, you know, the piercing anxiety. It's the same thing no matter what you do. I'm 30, I'll be 34 this year, and I've been pierced, I don't even know how many times since I was like 12. And it's the same sense of anxiety.
It never goes away.
Time. It never goes away.
It gets a little less, but they're still,
It's a
those
little less
butterflies are
because
still
you're
there.
like, okay, I just need to do it. And then once I get past it, I'm going to like prove myself that like I'm going to be fine.
All right. So my ADD is kind of kicking in here again. They're already advertising Christmas stuff at Dutch Brothers. I love Dutch Brothers, but it's too early. I mean, it's the day after Halloween. Is that legal?
Yeah.
Is that legal?
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
One holiday at a time. I'm sure
I
we
know.
celebrate Thanksgiving.
My best friend called me from back home this morning and has already taken down their Halloween decoration, and it has all their Christmas stuff up.
Pretty soon, it's just going to be like decorated for year round, where it's like, you know.
Yep, exactly.
All right, Demetrius Williams. Hey, Scott, I'm thinking about getting my nose pierced and stretching it. Do you know what plugs are the right ones to stretch with? Yes, single flare plugs. I would highly suggest getting glass ones. They're going to be more consistent and they're not going to have as sharp of an edge on there. Also, if think about my nose pierced. Are you talking nostril or septum? I was just assuming nostrils, but that seems kind of weird.
Nostril too.
Yeah. Septum, you have a lot of options. I mean, septums are easy to stretch the nostrils, but the glass comes in half sizes and nostrils are not easy to stretch. I promise. And when you do stretch it, like a lot, like earlobes don't really hurt. Nostrils still going to hurt, and it's going to hurt for weeks after.
Yes. I remember attempting to stretch mine, and I got to about an 8, and then I went to get to a 6, and I couldn't even get the taper all the way through. I was just
It's brutal. It's brutal.
And then I ended up taking a shower right after just to help ease the pain, and one of them fell out, so I just took them out and
Like,
just
I'm
retired
done.
them. I'm not even going to try. Not even going to try. I remember they were little blue acrylic, you know.
Yeah.
They had no flare on them. They were just the bands on each side. They were just like the straight with the
It
band
hurts
on each
so
side. Oh, it was
much.
terrible. Terrible. Never again. Maybe.
Zulamanza here. Cheers. Cheers. It's probably from earlier, but we'll read cheers, yeah?
Yeah.
Ruru says the same thing. And dog person with a cat. That's
Triple. Dog person with a cat. I like that.
I do too. It's like, do you name your cat dog?
Ooh,
Then
that'd be
it's
cool.
kind of like, hey dog, come here. And it's
One of my best friends growing up, their whole family, they had animals that were named after what they were. So they had a fish named Fishy, a cat named Kitty, a dog named Puppy. Like, it was cute.
We had a dog named Goldie. Can you imagine what color she was?
A golden retriever.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
But anyways,
Sorry, dog person with a cat. Triple conch. Are the outer ones going to be on 90-degree angle, or is it different for those?
okay. Now for the conch, it's kind of a rounded bulb. Okay.
You know what? Maybe we should grab this.
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to draw it for you real quick.
Nice.
Angles of a conch piercing. So let's say this is...
And when we're looking at the ear, it kind of depends on where you're going to go. Like you could do like 3 piercings like right here. If you do one high up, one low, and one in the middle, that changes everything. But, wow, you're a good drawer. That's pretty good.
Thank you.
I'm excited for you guys to see this.
I'm going to draw a plug in the earlobe too, just because. Anyways.
We're getting close.
Oops, I
But
just messed that up.
perpendicular to the tissue is going to be your best bet. She's an artist kind of going to town.
And then here's like the rook area.
Okay.
Anyways, so this is your conch, right? So this is the conch area here in this little bowl, right? So when it comes to the piercings,
it's tough looking in the
it is really
camera.
weird. I'm like backwards. So with the conch piercings, so you have to imagine this being the back of your ear. So
Turn it a little bit more.
when it comes to, when it comes to making these piercings straight, you have to kind of go with the shape of the ear. You know, with how round this area is, you have to imagine that roundness is also on the back, and you definitely want these piercings to be nice and straight with the shape of that. So it almost gives like the spider web effect.
Because you want the piercing to go straight
Exactly,
through.
straight
Now, if you go the angle the way through there, this is much longer, and you're more prone
you're
to
piercing
getting bumps.
through way more tissue going this way, and then you're more prone to getting these bumps on each side. So
I hope you guys
nice
can
and
see.
straight.
We're going to hold this up closer to the camera so you can get a better view.
See? I'm such an artist.
Oh,
Maybe I should tattoo instead.
there we go.
Just kidding.
So, yeah, that's kind of what that's all about, going as perpendicular as possible. If they're very close, they're going to be close to the same angle. But if you go sideways through the cartilage, you're going to have massive problems and it almost inevitable bumps. So
it depends on the anatomy, not so much on like what angle and what degree are we piercing this at. You just need it to be straight with the anatomy.
Yep. That was fun. It's like, yeah, Pictionary. Our Rurzy. Thanks. You're very welcome. I hate when I hit that button.
Oops.
Okay, I got too much.
Oops.
There we go. All right.
Demesis Aguilar. Hi, how long should I wait to change my nose piercing to hoops? 4 to 6 months to a full year. Again, it depends on the person, how well your body heals to it, but 9 times out of 10, it takes anywhere between 4 to 6 months to an entire year to heal this piercing 100%. And you want to make sure that you heal this piercing 100% before switching to a hoop. Because of the cartilage and the soft tissue mixture, it's always best to just be pierced at that straight angle. I just spit. And then heal at the straight angle, and then once it's fully healed, you can then put something in that's not too tight. You definitely want the piercing to get used to having something with a different, shaped, angled piece of jewelry in there.
Yeah.
So nothing that's too tight. So.
And like I tell people, we say 4 months to a year to switch. It doesn't mean you can do it exactly in 4 months. But if you got your nose pierced and it seems healed after a month, you're pretty much done with crusties. There was no problems, no bumps. Generally, 4 months you should be able to be able to put the jewelry in there, because the piercing's straight and you're trying to put a curve through there, and you need that hole to kind of loosen up and
Hello.
There we go.
Hello.
Okay. Maybe it was just mine. Maybe I have a bad channel here. I got to figure. There. Now I'm back. Okay. But anyways, you put that curve in there too much, you're going to cause a bump. And then once you got the bump, it's a lot of work to get rid of it. So 4 months to a year. And Terry NB, I finally had my surgery. Congratulations. Hence why I've missed a few live streams. Well, welcome back. I hope you're recovering well. How long would you wait to get piercings? I don't see a doctor for a few months, but not rushing. A few months? It depends on what kind of surgery you have and what your doctor says is okay. Now, the thing is a fresh piercing is an open wound for a long time, which is going to take its toll on your immune system. The number one priority right now is healing up from the surgery. You can't really mess around with that. Now, if you had broken bones or something like that, that's going to take several months to heal up before you're back to normal. If it's just like stitches or sutures, it's a small little cut or something like that, it could be as little as a month or two.
Yeah.
But I would highly recommend talking to your doctor or see what they said about it. I mean, like, oh, you'll be healed up in like 2 to 3 months. Then you're probably fine to get pierced at that 3-month range. But don't overdo it. If you still have a cast, if you have more stuff coming up, wait a little bit longer just so you don't have problems, or you have to take it back out. A lot of times if you're going to get another MRI as a checkup or something like that, or an x-ray, they're going to make you take your piercings out. If you have a fresh piercing, that's not good for your piercing. That's my number one concern. But generally a couple months. And hopefully you're healing up really good at this point. And did Trudy Miller ever get a question in here? No, I don't see one. Okay.
Oh, wait.
Oh, there's a second one?
Right there. No. Scroll up slower. Right, up. It's an orange T right there.
There it is.
All right, so Trudy Miller.
Hold on, there's more here. It's just, there, okay.
Okay, there we go. Not a question, just showing appreciation. Love my new piercings. I had my appointment with Kelsey this past Friday. They are doing great. Let me see. And bumps and seat belts are not very comfortable.
It sounds like a nipple piercing to me.
Sounds like a nipple piercing. Hi, Trudy. I then scheduled with Scott the following day and love those piercings as well. Still adjusting to the septum piercing. My husband's gauged lobes are doing great.
Nice.
Just some crazy bruising. Interesting.
Yes. We did some larger gauge earlobe piercings, and you do get bruising. I remember doing the one side and the one side bleeding fairly well. So honestly, I'm not surprised, and it's nothing to worry about. It will clear up. But yeah, like when you do a large gauge piercing and there's bleeding, you can have some pretty wicked bruising on that one. So, but congratulations on all your piercings. Thanks for being a part of our live chat, and thanks for letting us pierce you. We love that so much.
Thank you.
So much. All right, let's see if we can find my spot again here.
Okay, yep, right there. So Sevda, hey, how are you both doing? I hope you two had a great Halloween. Samhain. We had a great day.
Fantastic,
it was so much fun. I just stayed at home and passed out candy with my best friend and watched scary movies and ate pizza and candy, and now I have heartburn today, but it was worth it.
Hey, you know what? I didn't say this. One of my favorite costumes last night was so wrong. I went down to Fremont Street, and there was someone dressed up as a mostly naked Donald Trump in a G-string. And he's holding up a sign saying, "Let's make America sexy again." And I was just like, he had such a crowd around me. He's just dancing. He was loving it. And it was just like, you look and you got to look away and you look and like, You
can't not look.
Can't not look. It was so disturbing. So disturbing. All right. And Alex says hi. Hi, welcome into the live stream. And Private Gaming 912. Recently got my septum about 2 months ago. Would it be a bad idea to wear a bigger piece of jewelry for events going out and going back on the smaller jewelry to hide it for work? Should be fine. Generally about 6 to 8 weeks, these are pretty well healed up. The big concern is changing jewelry out and not being able to find the piercing hole again. And when you say bigger jewelry or decorative, I'm not sure what you're talking about. If you put in something real heavy or if you're stretching your piercing, that's a bad idea. But if you just want something slightly bigger and change it back and forth, it shouldn't be a problem. And if it starts getting sore, I would say don't do it again for at least another month. Let it heal up a little bit more. But 2 months is you should be okay. It's borderline, but you should be okay.
Yeah.
Alec.
Here's my septum this Saturday. Kind of nervous. Give me luck. Good luck.
There's all my luck for you.
So septum piercings are so much easier than you would imagine. I know that it's kind of scary because it's like up inside your nose and it's like kind of sensitive in your nose and everything, but septums, when done properly, are really one of the least painful piercings you can get. I tell my clients this all the time, and typically after we're done, people are like, wow, you weren't kidding.
And it makes your eyes water a lot, but that doesn't mean it's painful.
Nope.
So if you watch someone get their septum pierced, they're going to make some funny faces and whatnot, but listen to their words, not their facial reaction. Like, wow, that didn't even hurt. Like, why are you crying then? Well, it's just involuntary. Your eyes just water. If you pluck a hair out, it waters. But it's a great piercing.
It's similar to plucking out nose hairs, but even then, it's not even half as that. It's so strange. I don't really know how to explain it. So, but good luck. You're gonna do great. This is going to be awesome. It's going to look great on you.
And Hybrid Cat says, finally made a live stream. Woo! Glad you're here. Yeah. We're here too. We love having everyone here. So thank you so much.
Anna Hugman, got my 4th nose piercing today. Can't wait for the swelling to go down so it looks perfect. Placement is fine, but the swelling makes it look off. Understandable. It'll do that.
4 nose piercings. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Is that too much?
No. No.
We're just kidding. Our noses are full of jewelry. The more jewelry you have in there, it's fantastic. But congratulations. I'm curious what the 4th one is. I'm guessing maybe nostrils?
Possibly. So I when I imagine multiple nose piercings, I imagine maybe a couple on the nostrils or high nostrils or in like mid. My friend Cookie, she is a piercer. I'm not really sure where she is now, but she just recently posted that she did like, I believe it was the higher high nostrils, or maybe she did lower on
Seconds,
the nostril.
yeah.
Anyways, but this client has the most beautiful location of just not nose piercings in general. I'll have to show you a photo of it, but they look amazing.
Like a series of regular nostril and highs?
Yep, it's just like beautifully done, just like down from like way up high here, and then it goes down to the front of the nose and then to the nostril. It shapes with the nose so perfectly. Beautiful.
You know, I'm really, really surprised I never got into or even saw high nostrils until I did. Because I mean, it's like, it makes sense. Like, you can feel where the bone is. Why did I never consider going higher than the traditional placement?
Right.
You know, it's like, it's tough sometimes to think outside the box, but there's a lot you can do with the nose and it looks so good. But I agree, like when you get the swelling, it looks off, it drives me nuts. Like, I hope it's going to be okay, but just be patient. You'll get there.
Be patient, you will get there.
And Emily Sakuma, thanks. I am at the year mark in my cheeks. Well, congratulations. You pretty much should be done with most of the problems. But, you know, piercings are temperamental, but cheek piercings look so cool.
Oh, these. Look at these.
That is so
like,
rad.
I love the
See if you can
shape.
try to show the picture so they can see. I don't know how else we can. There, that's a good one.
Let me see here. So if I zoom in a little bit.
Here, let me go into
Yep,
a
go
better.
to my camera. There we go. Oh, where am I?
You're at that camera over there.
Yep, on the shape of the nose there. It just
See how it
looks
just kind of
so
flows?
pretty. Let me see the front facing.
Working with camera and camera.
Working with camera and camera. But yeah, the way that it just flows with the shape of the nose, beautifully done.
Pretty awesome.
Beautifully
Pretty
done.
awesome. Wrong button. There's the right button. All right. And Zulima here. Cheeks are such a journey, man. Great question and answers. Absolutely. That's what this is all about. And Ellie Garrity, thank you so much for giving me the power to walk back into a piercing shop and ask them to redo my second lobe on the one side because it wasn't happy with it. They were very nice about it. Yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be. And
Yes.
Also said, and it'll be re-pierced within a few weeks once the wound is more healed.
Good.
Sounds like you went to a good shop. We're all human. Piercers are human. We do make mistakes. We don't try to, and we want our work to look as good as possible. I don't want to do a crooked piercing on someone and have them go out saying, Scott did this.
Right.
And it's like, well, it's crooked. You know, come back to us, tell us it's crooked. We'll fix it for you. That's what a good piercer does. So glad to hear that. Thanks for sharing that with us. Multi-Steven 1987. Shout out to Scott. I'm absolutely enjoyed my new gauged ears. Congratulations. I love hearing that. It's so fun being able to stretch piercings and why don't I? There's the right button. So I try to highlight our comments as we go down so I don't get lost, and then I hit all these other buttons and other screens pop up. And I told you I'm not really technologically as advanced as I want to be. Jennifer So.
Hey, Scott and Kelsey, does prong versus bezel set jewelry affect healing? I'm thinking of getting a forward helix soon. In my personal opinion and experience, I do sometimes think that it makes a difference in the healing. I personally like flat or smooth round versus prong. The prong set is, difference between prong set and bezel is the gem in a prong set is held in with a claw like this. So it does have these little openings here in between the gems. So depending on what the piercing is, it can kind of irritate during the healing process, especially if you sleep on your ears, etc. Bezel set, the titanium is wrapped all the way around the gem and it's holding it like a little cup. So
you can kind of see some here.
You can kind of see here.
Like we got a prong setting here, full bezel, like the full cup.
And then a prez.
Kind of like in between, yep.
Prong bezel.
You know, they're not necessarily bad. They're just more problematic for getting caught on things and for cleaning.
Yes.
It kind of depends on where it goes on the body.
Right. Prong set tends to hoard the crustiness and dirt, debris way
Under the gem.
under the gem than anything. So, I definitely do recommend more rounded bezel or flat for initial piercings. But some people like the look of the prong, and I don't have an issue using the prongs. It just takes a little bit extra cleaning. We might have to have you come in just to check and make sure that you don't have buildup or anything that could cause problems. So, yeah.
I'm just trying to think like where the one that gets caught the most for prong is going to be nostrils for sure. Bezels definitely better that way, but you still get used to it. But then think about belly button. Like if you had a prong set navel compared to a bezel, is it really that much more likely to get caught, do you think?
Maybe not get caught, but you also have to, keep into consideration sitting down. So like navel piercings when sitting down, it can kind of push up. If it pushes up into the navel, it can cause more irritation than let's say a round piece of jewelry. So
nipples for sure.
Nipples for sure. I do not recommend prong sets for nipples. I don't even recommend clusters or anything. One, they can get caught way easier, and then two, because of that soft tissue and everything, the jewelry rotating, it can cause excess damage that is just super unnecessary.
I've never really broken down that much, but it does make a difference. So cool. Great question. Thanks for asking that.
Then we have Flo. Hi, guys. I had my flat done in March, and it has been healing really well, even if I sleep on it. But recently it started swelling again, but I can't help sleeping on it. Does it mean it'll never heal? So it does not mean that it won't ever heal. You are just, I guess, realistically, more prone to bumps, but you're just prolonging that healing process. If you stop sleeping on it, I can guarantee that it'll heal up way faster than if you continue to sleep on it. So sleeping on it is what the problem is right now. So maybe try your best not to sleep on it. It's really the only advice that I have to give. There's really nothing you can do other than maybe the donut pillow. But even then, I have found sleeping on the donut pillow, you're still applying pressure to that area and you're forcing more blood flow into it. It's definitely better for the piercing because you're not applying the, actual pressure to it. But
downsize too.
Downsizing jewelry, making sure that you don't have any excess length on it. The jewelry also, in flat piercings, I like to use flat jewelry. So, yeah.
Definitely holds it better in place.
Yeah, definitely holds it better.
And when you downsize, one thing I've seen a lot is people putting beads or really small discs on the back of the ear. I still like to stick to the 4mm disc on the back of a flat, just because when it holds up steady, it minimizes the chance of it turning or changing angles. When you use a real small bead or a real small disc, the jewelry can still rotate and that disc doesn't help hold it in place. Yeah. So once you downsize and that disc is flat against your ear, it does work better. So
yeah.
Bethel
Gundam.
Just pierced my septum.
Good
Congratulations.
Job. As long as you didn't do it by yourself. Unless you're a piercer. Then good job. If not, don't do that. And Savannah, when to call it quits on a piercing?
That's such a great question. It's such a tough call. Now, I would want more information. If you just got a nostril piercing and it's a couple days old and it's sore and you're like, do I give up on it? No, be patient.
Or you're the piercing bump, be patient.
Yeah.
Nostrils, I probably say half the time I get people who come in, they're like, I think my nose piercing is infected. Should I take it out? No, don't take it out. Everything that your nostril piercing is going through right now is absolutely 100% completely normal. Just let it ride its course, and then eventually it will stop and it'll stop coming around. And just
now the thing is, it's your body. If you're done with it and you hate the piercing, get rid of it. Life goes on. It's not the end of the world if you decide to not want it. Or maybe there's a better piercing for you. Now, if you've had a bump for months and months and months and it will not go away, sometimes it's easier just to let it go and then start over. But if you've
the difference between a piercing bump and a keloided scar tissue, if it's there and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, it doesn't go up and down and then it'll disappear for a little while and then it reappears. That's a piercing bump. If it's there and it stays there and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, that could be a keloid, but that's for a dermatologist to tell you, or even a doctor. So
we really need more information from you on what piercing, why would you call it quits on that piercing. So there's a lot of factors, but ultimately it's up to you.
A lot of people want to call it quits on the piercing bumps just because they look ugly, but I promise within like the next 6 months it'll come and go as it pleases until it stops coming around. All 4 of my nose piercings did it, and I almost called it quits on my high nostrils because I was 6, 7, 8 months in, and I just felt like they were never going to go away, and then one day they just stopped.
Sometimes though, if you have cartilage piercings or whatever with a huge bump and it's been there for 6+ months or a year, sometimes they're kind of starting to get more permanent, and then you might be better off taking it out and starting over.
Right.
It's a tough call. It's a tough call. But anyways, moving on to Scarlett.
Parrish.
Hit that damn button again. There we go.
Next piercing, Medusa, leading to cyber bites. Despite being British, I don't want to annoy my dentist. Tongue piercing question was the tongue piercing question was perfect for me. I'm concerned about tooth chipping and gum erosion too.
So you know exactly what we're talking about. Downsize, the right size jewelry, and Medusa leading towards cyber bites. Cyber bites is where you have the Medusa and the labret on the bottom, to bead on the upper and bead on the lower. Super, super cool. Again, Medusa's not as much going to be as problematic as the labret could. Labrets are easier to play with, chip your teeth, do gum damage. So once you can downsize. That's a huge part. So, and good luck on your piercing journey. And Zuturo, hi Scott, I'm getting my first piercing done tomorrow. I have no idea what to say. It's an eyebrow piercing, but I want it to be spiky. How long would it take to heal? Eyebrow piercings, probably 3 to 6 months seems to be the average healing time. A lot of times they seem healed after a month to 2 months, but you got to be patient with it. Now, spiky is fun. I'm not a huge fan of spikes for initial piercings. They're more prone to get caught on things. They're really sharp. They stick out, so therefore they're going to get caught on things. And the thing is if it's threadless jewelry, you got to push it in to keep it tight, and you can't do that with spikes on the end. And if it's threaded, it sounds so weird, but you can't get a grip to tighten it, and they're more prone to coming undone. So it's one of those things where it's best to wait till you're healed up, then switch to it. But some piercers will pierce with them. So.
Yep. And we got Miss Keisha Miller. Hello, I have a question. Why do a lot of piercings don't do snake eyes piercing? So
piercers,
so piercers or piercing studios don't do snake eye piercings. So snake eye piercings are one of those piercings I really just do not understand why they exist. So as far as the snake eye piercing, it is a curved barbell or a straight bar through the tip of your tongue. The reason why we advise against them is because when you're resting your mouth, okay, your tongue is gonna sit, the tip of your tongue sits right where your gums meet your teeth. So with that being said, that jewelry will eventually wear down the gums that are connected to your teeth, causing a lot of dental problems, gum erosion, gum irritation, gum problems. It's also really bad for the anatomy of your tongue. Your tongue is made up of several different muscles. The main two are the one on each side that are actual visible when you're talking, eating, or sticking your tongue out. So for example, my tongue being split, those are the 2 separate muscles. If you're piercing through those, you are then
impeding your speech.
You're not allowing your tongue to do what it's naturally supposed to do. So for example, when I say the letter A, your tongue flattens out and the tip of it separates. So you're just impeding your speech. You're causing scar tissue. The more that jewelry goes back and forth or your tongue fluctuates against that jewelry, it's just going to cause a lump of scar tissue. I have personally never seen anyone properly heal a snake eye piercing. If it has healed, it's only because there's a mass amount of scar tissue there. So once you're like, you know what, I'm kind of over this piercing, and you take it out, you just have this ugly lump of scar tissue at the tip of your tongue, and it is not cute. So
if you like your teeth and you plan on keeping them, don't get this piercing.
Yeah. And when speaking to somebody who has a snake eye tongue piercing, that clacking, so every time I say S-T, whatever it is, it's just clackety,
terrible.
Clickety, clackety. It's so bad for your teeth. So bad for your teeth.
Now, my insurance company for my studio insures me for all piercings, all genital piercings, but they did tell me that if I'm caught doing snake eyes, they will drop me because of the amount of damage that dentists have seen from this one.
Yep.
You'll get gum erosion where your teeth can fall out if you don't chip and damage them to reversible damage anyway. So, yeah, so it's a bad idea, and that's the reason why.
I know that it looks kind of cute, but I'm telling you right now, it's not as cute as you think it is.
Yep.
Especially with the long-term effects of it.
See, the thing is like a lot of the younger generation tries looking for the brand new piercing that no one's done before. Now, the thing is
I think it had to do with, I think it was Cardi B who did it.
Yes.
But even then, I think she only had it for a matter of a few weeks.
No,
and then
she had the
took it
horizontal lip piercing.
Okay, that's right.
That was the whole. I don't remember who started this one, but everyone's looking for the new piercing, and piercing's been around since 1975.
Right.
Well, since the beginning of time, but in modern culture since 1975, and we've already experimented and found out what works and what doesn't work. So when you find an old school piercer like me, it's like we've tried these things in the past and realized the damage and said, no, this is a bad idea.
Exactly.
But the newer generation
Kinda
wants
like
something no one else has.
The newer generation now, like why we don't do microdermal piercings, because they leave a lot of scar. I mean, they leave permanent scarring. They're not a permanent piercing. Eventually they fall out or they have to come out. They get infected really easy. You know, so
and it's a lot of younger generation who wants these, and they're leaving huge scars, and they don't realize the repercussions and how much they're going to have to deal with this for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what's going on there.
Yeah.
Great question. Thank you for asking that. Immortella. What a great... I missed one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Arenia Zori.
We're getting to you,
Hey,
Immortella.
I've been using emu oil for well over a week on my nose bump, and it still has not gone away.
We got to assess the situation. What is the source of the problem? Are you catching it on towels on a regular basis?
Are you wearing makeup on a daily basis?
Is the jewelry
and not avoiding the piercing?
Is it too long or too short? Do you have a ring in there?
What types of stuff are you using on your face as far as face wash, or makeups, oils, lotions are a really big factor in nose piercings and why people develop this the piercing bump.
What type of metal is in your nose?
Exactly. What type of metal, what style of jewelry. There are a lot of factors. Emu oil is great a lot of times.
But if you don't get rid of the source of the problem, the emu oil isn't going to be magic.
Not help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah,
that's probably my guess.
You also might be the type of person who naturally has oily skin already, so emu oil could be doing an adverse thing. So for me, I have very oily skin. The easiest way for me to get rid of any sort of piercing bump would be dry healing. Dry best for me. Anytime I tried to use anything on it, ointments, oils, anything, it would just get worse. It was like my body loved the fact that I was keeping it wet constantly.
Uh-oh. No data. And we're back to excellent condition.
We're back to excellent condition.
I'm not sure what's going on there. If you guys are still here, let us know. I'll check in the comments here. Oh, back to the whole dry healing thing. I have no problem with that as long as you're not moving the jewelry. If the jewelry is spinning and rotating, you're pulling crusties in, that's going to cause bumps in itself too. So, okay, we're going to scroll down the comments here and see what's going on. Let us know. Are we still streaming here? It said... The screen's all weird here.
We have excellent connection.
Excuse me.
Bless you. I don't know if that was a cough or a sneeze.
It was a cough. I confused everyone with that one. I need something to drink. I'm not seeing any comments come through about our streaming, but I think we're still back up to normal.
Cool.
Moving on. Immortella, I told you it would get you. When you do live piercings, guys, when you do live piercings, guys would love to see you do that. Yes. I have someone who's going to be helping me out with the live streams, which is going to help us out quite a bit. And I'm going to be able to get those live piercings up sooner than later. It is wired up. I just need to set a day and start piercing people and start editing those videos. But I think we got it ready to go. So I'm not going to promise a time, but I'm going to say soon. Sorry about that, you guys. Jay Pickett. Had my septum pierced 2.5 months ago. No issues. When can I swim? Well... If you're in the water, you should always swim, otherwise you're going to drown. Doesn't matter if you have fresh piercing or not. Such a smart aleck.
This guy.
All right. You should be totally fine. Generally, septums are healed up in about 6 to 8 weeks. So you should be totally fine to go swimming if you want to, unless it's really irritated and it's not fully healed up. Megan Clements.
Remind me again, what is the non-iodized sea salt amount per 1 cup of water? A 1/4 teaspoon?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
1/4 of a teaspoon of non-iodized fine-grained sea salt. Mix it up in a very clean cup and then use distilled or filtered water.
Or filtered water only, no tap water.
It has to be mixed perfect, otherwise this does cause more problems. That's why we don't suggest it anymore. Generally, a wound wash spray, like one of these 3 here, are going to be your best bet. We have like Neomed.
This works perfect for drier climates like we have.
Or
this
H2O.
one is really good for climates that are a little bit more humid and moist.
These two are pretty much same type
these
things.
are pretty much the
pure
same.
Sterile saline.
Wash is perfect.
That's all it is.
I love these 2 brands. Not a huge fan of these, but again, it's because I live here and it dries out the piercings here.
So. And we're going to scroll down to make sure I'm still streaming here. Yep, all good. Still here. Good. Glad to see that. Thank you for letting us know. Amber Hazel, how long do you recommend waiting before you get your septum re-pierced? Got mine done at a very reputable shop, but it was super crooked and through my cartilage. Ooh. Very painful and would not heal. Bad headache.
Ouch.
Oh, I'm so sorry,
That's
Amber.
Awful.
Probably a month. You know, the thing is try to get that swelling to get down back to normal again. And if it's done properly and they hit the septum, they're not even going through that same spot. So you should be totally fine. Every piercer can even have a bad day. I'm sorry you went through that.
Yeah.
But if you went to a good shop, they'll take care of you.
Zulma Zahir, has Kelsey talked much about their implants horns before? I'd love a story time experience video if you felt like it and haven't done one already. I mean, if you would like to, you are more than welcome to message me, direct message me on Instagram. I think we have all of our information in the
down
info
in the
on
info,
this
yep.
page down on the bottom. I can send videos and all that good stuff without a problem. I've got a couple of them. They were really easy to get, really easy to heal. I've had them done 3 times now to get to this size. You do have to do them by generation. I started with firsts, went to seconds, and now thirds. And
what does that mean?
So you need to start with something smaller to help stretch out the tissue, because if you imagine how tight the forehead tissue is, start with first. That way you don't go, if I were to go directly to this size, it would more than likely split at the tip right here, then rejecting the implants, and then we probably wouldn't be able to get them again.
And a huge nasty scar.
Yeah, a huge nasty scar. So it is a stretching type situation. So yeah, I've had them put in, removed, and then put in again, and then removed, all in a matter of, I think, the last 6 years.
Okay.
So yeah.
Any bruising?
I definitely had bruising, swelling.
Black eyes?
I had a black eye the second time that I got them done on this side. It was black and swollen to the point where I couldn't even really open my eye.
Wow.
The third time I had them done, I think I had them done the week before I started working at your studio about a year ago.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
1 year this month.
Wow.
I know, it's crazy. It's been amazing. But yeah, I had them done the week before I started, and I had hardly any swelling. I had no bruising, no nothing.
And those are silicone?
They are silicone implants, so they are squishy. They don't go anywhere because...
Here, let me zoom in a little bit better for, yeah. Yeah.
This one's my favorite to show people because I can literally like fold it under my tissue.
Wow.
And pinch it up and manipulate it a little bit. It's pretty neat.
Cool.
Party trick.
Yeah. That was fun. All right. Amber Hazel. I left it in for 6 months, but couldn't do it anymore. I miss it and want it re-pierced, right? What were we talking about, Amber? Septum. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
Definitely, I mean,
at least a month.
I left it in for 6 months, but couldn't do it anymore. I miss it though. I would maybe go, if you say that the shop that you went to was reputable, I would maybe go back to them and let them know, like, hey, it was pierced in the cartilage and it was crooked. Is there any way that I can have it maybe re-pierced, or find another reputable shop who wouldn't let you leave with a crooked or cartilage pierced septum, because septum piercings aren't typically done through any sort of cartilage. So
Now, the thing is it's kind of weird. If you accidentally hit the cartilage, the chance of that person letting you re-pierce them is pretty slim to none, because it does get pretty painful.
Hurt.
And
exactly.
It's scarier the second time around.
So for septum piercings, you do have the soft cartilage here on the bottom. And then right above that, you do have a very thin layer of tissue, which is what we would call the sweet spot for a septum piercing, which is ideally where you should be pierced as far as septum piercing goes. And then right above that, you do have the dense, hard cartilage that almost feels like bone. Getting pierced through that, I could only imagine. I actually watched one of my best friends get their septum pierced by someone who was a tattoo artist, not a piercer, who was also piercing people. Because, you know, a lot of times, no offense to tattoo artists, they think that they can be piercers as well, because it's just poking holes in people's bodies.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually the answer that I get from tattoo artists who pierce. It's just poking holes. It's not a big deal. Anyway, so... I've never seen someone push so hard to get a needle through any portion of someone's body as far as a piercing went. And it was my best friend Kelly, one of my best friends. And I watched this man, grown man, go completely white and then turn like a blue color, because it hurt that bad. And then when he finally got it through...
What piercing?
A septum. He pierced through the dense cartilage, the dense bone of the cartilage. It was awful. It was one of the worst piercing experiences I've ever witnessed. It actually made me dizzy, and I had to sit down because it looked so brutal. So if it's that hard of a push, it's in the wrong spot, and you should tell your piercer to stop immediately.
Yes.
They're not piercing it in the right spot, and they could break your nose. And I'm pretty sure that's what happened, because once he actually pushed it, you could hear it go through. Yep, exactly. We all heard it go through, and that was when I had to sit down, because I knew right then and there that this tattoo artist had broke my friend's nose. It was awful. Yeah. So go somewhere reputable is all I really have to say. So
it kind of brings up another whole, you know, it's like people are like, oh, can I just do piercings at home? Well, that tattoo artist has slightly more training than you, and they still messed it up that bad.
It was awful. It started to stick to my stomach. Kelly, if you're watching this, dude, I don't even know.
It's so scary. And you know, it's like that paints such a negative picture for so many people. And it's like, it's scary going into a shop assuming, oh, they're professionals. And now in knowing that, like, a lot of people are not professionals.
Right. So do your research. Research is key to finding the piercer or artist who is best suited for you, realistically for anyone. So, you know, you can get a shop that people recommend, but a lot of times it's recommended because, one, they're way cheaper, or two, because that person had a really good experience or what they thought was a good experience, but then we would look at that piercing and be like, first of all, that's crooked, it's not in the right spot, and the jewelry is terrible. So do your research. You know, I know that a lot of people want to go the cheaper route, but your body, I promise, your body is worth the price that you would pay for high quality jewelry and high quality just overall experience, you know, and outcome of your piercing. So
Yep.
Research.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've had so many of my clients be like, well, I ended up getting my navel pierced because I went with a friend. It was her birthday, and she said she had a shop, and it was impromptu, and I figured, you know, it's just, you know, then they'll look at you and go, I'm never going anywhere else. You know, once you go to the right person, it's...
Right. Even then, sometimes people go to the right. I literally just had some clients come back in because they wanted different jewelry put in, and their belly buttons were not pierced properly. So we had to recommend to just take them out, because, you know, just stick with the person who you know is actually good at what they do. And then they even sat there and said, you know, I knew better, but I still went because we were having a birthday party type thing. And
I've also had some of my clients.
Waste your money.
I've also had some of my clients go to get pierced and then realize they said no, because like, that's not what Scott does. That's not what Scott does. This doesn't seem right.
Thank goodness.
Education is key. And Ellie Garrity says, my septum was easier to heal than my lobes. See, there you go, Amber. Like, when it's done properly, you're going to be able to go in a second time around, and it's going to be healed up super, super quick. When it's done right, they're a fairly easy piercing to deal with.
Yes.
Mateus Pavez. How much time should I wait between septum stretches? I'm at a 10 gauge, and goal size is an 8. You're almost there. Just push it real hard. No. You can tough it out. No, that's bad advice.
Stop it.
Bad advice.
Don't listen. So typically when it comes to stretching, I advise people to do at least 6 to 8 weeks in between stretches. You just want to give it like a normal, you know, body piercing heal time give it time to get used to having that size. And sometimes it might take a little bit longer because that jewelry is still too tight. You just want it to be nice and laxed, comfortable, no more pinching, pain, stinging, crusties, any of that good stuff. So, I mean, obviously, if the piercing is fully healed and doing just fine, you should be okay to stretch up to the next size.
Yeah. Like I said, generally 2 months minimum between each stretch there. And honestly, with your septum piercing, if your jewelry moves so freely and it's so loose, sometimes the 8 just falls into place too. So if you have that jewelry without using a tool, in the shower, take it out and see if the 8 just falls in. Sometimes it does.
Yeah. 8 to a 10 gauge, or 10 to an 8. 10 to an 8 gauge is really not too big of a jump. So if it goes right in, it goes
Once
right
you
in.
get to the 6 and the 4s when it starts getting a little trickier. So.
Yep.
Ursula's Odds and Sods.
Hello, friend.
How often do you get clients who think they don't have the right anatomy for a piercing, like an industrial VCH or Duff, but are able to get that piercing after all? It depends on how broke I am that week.
Scott.
I'm on a roll today.
I'm on a roll with terrible stuff. No. How often do you get clients who think they don't have the right anatomy for a piercing? So, not very often. It's usually the opposite way, where they're just like, I want to get this piercing done, but then it turns out they don't have the anatomy for it. Industrials are one of those piercings that, half the time we can do them. The other half of the time, there is absolutely no way that an industrial piercing would heal properly. So,
well, one thing that people don't understand is like industrial piercings, like normally you have that horizontal bar going across your ear, but there's other piercings you can do. You can custom bend the bar to make things work sometimes. Sometimes it has to be a slightly different angle. So that being said, like, I wish I could get an industrial. I'm like, well, you're set up perfect for a vertical industrial or for a rook to a helix or a conch to tragus.
Something cool like an industrial.
So they're still getting the industrial, but it's not exactly what they had in mind. So that happens more often than not. Now, as far as the VCH goes,
I've only, in the 10 years that I've been doing this professionally, have run into one person who could not get a VCH piercing. VCH piercing, or the vertical clitoral hood, that piece of tissue that goes over the clitoris itself, that's what you're pierced through, either vertically or horizontally. It depends on the anatomy and everything, obviously. But I've only run into one person to where it was almost like the hood tissue was attached to the top of the clitoris.
Correct.
And I could not, there was no way I could do the Q-tip
It
test.
does happen. And the Q-tip test we're just talking about is where you take a Q-tip and you get the Q-tip wet, and most of that cotton swab should fit underneath the hood. If there's not a pocket to actually pierce into for that, it's not really a good idea to do the piercing.
Right.
Sometimes you can get in a little tiny bit and it's like borderline, but I mean, you should be piercing with a minimum of a 3/8 inch curved barbell.
Yes.
If it's shallower than that, it's like there's a good chance it's going to reject and grow out.
Exactly.
Now,
So
I've said
having
no
the
quite a bit.
smaller-
I've said no quite a bit more, but I've also been piercing just shy of 30 years too. So it does happen.
Yeah. Well, there were times where I've had to tell people, well, because of the anatomy, we're going to have to pierce with a shorter bar, and chances of this possibly migrating to rejection are there, but it's pretty slim to no chance. It just depends on, obviously, the anatomy, but I've looked at one and I was like, there's no hood there. There's nothing there. It was so strange. They just had like the smallest little tiny hood, but even then there was no way.
All right. So I have a little story for you. I don't know if I've told you this story or not. And you know what? If you guys like this story, definitely hit the like. This is going to be a crazy story, so brace yourself.
Crazy story. Brace yourselves.
Okay. So a friend of mine came in and she's like, I want to get a hood piercing. And she was one of those candidates where it's like, I'm sorry, there's no pocket. That you do not have the right anatomy for this piercing. And she was so disappointed. She's like, is there anything to do? Is there any way I can get this pierced? I'm like, I don't have any idea how you could create a hood for this, but you don't have anatomy. I'm not going to do it. Well, 6 months later, she emailed me and said, hey, I think I have a hood now. Can you check to see if I can get pierced? That was my reaction. Okay, brace yourself, people. I am not joking about this. She said every day she took like a pliers and she was pulling on her hood to stretch it out. She stretched her hood out enough where she created a flap where she could actually get her hood pierced. True story. You can't make that up. That's I was shocked and awed. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this just happened. But yeah, pliers, and she just stretched it out. I don't suggest doing this. This is not a good idea. But
wow.
Oh.
Wow. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Cheers to stretching out hoods.
Yeah.
Woo.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad that she was able to get it, and I hope that it healed up properly. I've heard of
I told you guys weren't ready for that story. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard of other piercers recommending people take like testosterone and all this other stuff, but that's something that a doctor should recommend, not a piercer. So if you've ever heard of that, again, talk to your doctor about it.
Because you're definitely going to get more bottom growth, but the actual clitoris itself is going to be growing, and so I don't know if that would change the hood. I mean, it's going to change overall everything a little bit. So, but there's no control what grows or what shape you go to in order to make,
as a piercer, I do not recommend just going and getting that and trying that. Like, speak to a doctor, but
wow. But yeah, anyways,
a lot of things you can do. That's crazy.
Thanks, Ursula. So it doesn't happen that often. Once in a while it does, because like a lot of people watch the videos and like, I watch your videos and I don't have the anatomy, and then I check and I'm like, no, actually you do. It's like we're the professionals. We're the ones who can kind of see what's going on. And if it's going to cause a problem, I'm not going to do it. So, all right, we got a weirdo here. Weirdo W. What would you call the piercing you've done in your eyebrows that are placed more towards the center? How's the healing on those, and what's the long-term care on those? Do they reject often? Love them. Thank you so much.
Central eyebrow piercings is what I would consider them.
Technically, it's all eyebrow, but the further you go in, the tighter the skin can get, and if you don't have loose enough skin, is going to be more likely to reject.
For example, my brow bones, they
are right there.
Are just fully touching my eyebrows. I mean, my eyebrows are a little bit higher than my actual brow bone come down. So piercing my eyebrows, it's tighter tissue where my actual brows are versus this tissue down here where my brow bone ends. So eyebrow piercings, I'm not a good candidate for it just because my tissue is too tight there. Putting jewelry in, it can just eventually just migrate right out.
I have the best eyebrows ever for piercing.
Literally pinch and pull Scott's eyebrows. I can't do that to mine.
It's so much. It's so much.
It's awesome.
Now, here's the other thing. It's like the further you go in, I know the inner eyebrows, I've done those before, they're more prone to rejecting. Yes. But the big concern there is a really major vein.
Muscle and a vein.
Right there. So it causes massive bleeding and so forth. They say it's...
Most amount of movement in the area of the brow.
Yeah.
Is right there.
But it looks so cool when you have a bridge piercing and two inner eyebrows where it kind of creates that U.
I've done microdermal piercings right there, and they look super cute. But they reject out really easy.
Great question. So that should answer that question for you.
And we've got Willie. How long should you wait before getting a surface piercing on a tattoo?
Fully healed tattoo.
Fully healed tattoo.
Fully healed, that's all.
Absolutely. Like at least 6 months to a year.
When you get a new tattoo, it's going to seem healed. Like, the scabs are all done, but you still have a little bit of that shine to it.
Yep, that's what my foot looks like right now.
You got to get rid of the shine so that skin is completely normal before you're going to heal it. Keep in mind, the surface bar could reject out, and where the piercing is and rejects out, it's going to pull all the color out of that area, and you're going to have scarring. So keep that in mind. I know they look real cool, combining the two, kind of the mixed media thing, but be careful with it. You really can't tell on mine. I used to have like the cobra, like the eyes used to be dermal anchors, and now they used to be solid black. Now I have big white spots there because it's just scar tissue. So, yep. And Serenity
Headley. Hi guys, I was wondering if you could tell me how I would go about stacking rings in my navel piercing. Fully heal that navel piercing first, and then whatever size it was that you were pierced at, I would recommend a larger gauge size to start with, letting that heal, and then after 6 months to a year, you can then take a couple of 16 or 14 gauge rings and put them in there. If you were pierced at a 14 gauge, you can take like 2 or 3 18 gauge rings and stack them in there.
Do you think you could fit 3?
Maybe. Yeah. So mine's at a 14 currently. Maybe 2. 3 would feel a little bit tight, but yeah.
Let's look at these lines here. 18.
Yeah, so a 14, maybe.
I think you'd have to be a 12 gauge before you could fit two 18 gauge rings in there. That would be my guess. So I would say if you have a normal navel piercing, wait till it's healed, stretch it up to the 12, and then you can start doing the stacking. And then once you do the stacking, it's going to loosen up and you'll probably be able to fit another 18 in, depending on how much you actually want to stack in there. But that's what I would do, is I would get it stretched to the 12 and maybe put two 18s in there, maybe an 18 to 16. I don't have a lot of experience stacking navels. Okay. But I've seen them, and that would be my guess.
Yeah, so I stacked a navel not too long ago, and they had a 14 gauge in, and yeah, we put two 18 gauge.
Was it tight?
1/4 inch rings in, and then we put a little charm on it too.
Was it pretty tight or not?
The two 18 gauge fit pretty perfect. They weren't uncomfortable. It wasn't difficult to get the jewelry in.
Fully healed?
Fully healed, yeah. They had the piercing for like 6-7 years.
So it might have been naturally at a 12 gauge already, too.
Yeah, just naturally at a 12 gauge. The tissue stretch is really easy there, so yeah. All right, and then we've got
awesome.
J Baby's 328. My nipple piercings are infected.
No.
What do? I took the jewelry out because it was too small. Well...
Are they infected or are they irritated?
Yeah, it sounds to me that if the jewelry was too small and let's say they were just way too tight and the beads were sinking in, more than likely the piercing was just very, very irritated. And usually what your body does when jewelry is too small is it'll swell up to push whatever is in your body out of your body. So you should at least just put a longer bar in, not take it out. If it is infected, I usually advise against removing jewelry if something is infected because you need a way to drain that infection out.
Trap it in.
So unless you have already started antibiotics, you could be trapping the infection in, and then you might have to have a small cut put in there just to drain and relieve pressure and swelling. No fun. So
keep in mind, irritated piercings still can have pus come out of there because if it's irritated, you have all the dead skin cells mixed with the plasma and it's pushing on. That's basically what the pus is. Now, if you were truly infected, it's going to be a darker greenish gray, really dark yellow. Like if you just touch it and it's just thick stuff's good. It's gross. Now, if you just have crusties and they're a little darker color, that's just irritated. So then you'd be able to take it out. But the thing is that if you've already taken them out, they're closed up and they're done.
So be closed. I would recommend maybe going and seeing your nearest reputable piercer and see if they're able to save the piercings, depending on how long ago you took them out. If you just took them out today because they're irritated or what you would consider infected, go see a piercer and they'll be able to put something in that's long enough to just relieve the pressure and help with the healing process. Only advice I really have to give. So.
And if it was infected and you already took them out, and they really do some hot compresses or take like a cup of like really warm water, tip it over to completely submerge it, and that's going to help draw some of that infection out with that extra heat on there. Get it to drain as best you can before it completely closes up.
If they are infected, so some of the first signs of infection are going to be hot to the touch, like it has a fever of like 101 just in that one area or higher. It is going to be very red around the actual like piercing site itself. It's going to be red, hot to the touch, and it is going to be excruciatingly painful. So even just touching the tissue softly like this is going to hurt. If it's, pussing and like there's just Another factor which people don't think about is if you got pierced with steel and you have a nickel allergy, this could be a common reaction to an allergy. An allergy to. So if you change to titanium, sometimes things just heal up right away too. That's what happened to me in my nipple piercings. I went through almost 2 years of trying to heal nipple piercings, and I was just not having a good time. And then I moved out here, and I switched to titanium. Within 3 weeks, I had no crusties, no more swelling, no back and forth irritation. Titanium is amazing.
It's unbelievable how big of a difference it makes.
Yes. Alrighty, next up we've got Geno MG, nostril piercing on one side or both sides.
MJ, not MG.
Oh, MJ.
Yeah, we're close.
Sorry.
Both. both sides. I'm a fan of symmetry, balance. If you want one, just get one. It's your body. You can do what you want. But if it's up to me, I like things to be matching and
symmetrical. Yeah, yep. I've been liking a lot the one on the one side and then two on the opposite side. I think it looks really cool. And then having the studs in the symmetrical ones and then putting a hoop in the one that's a little bit further forward or further back. I think it looks awesome.
And if you haven't already, hit the like, hit the subscribe. It really means a lot to us. We appreciate that. And
we've got Etree. Hi, you two. I hope things are going well. A few months ago, I saw vertical outer labia piercings done with a staple bar, but it's the only example I've seen of it. Have you seen it before?
Yes.
And please tell me about it if you have. Thank you so much. So I've personally not seen that done.
I have, but the thing is you have to have the right anatomy, and that area has to be a non-moving area for this to work.
Right.
You know, so like you almost need to like place the dots, and it sounds weird, but you almost need to kind of move your legs around and see if you can get that tissue to change. Like if I was to do 2 piercings here on the chest, like a vertical cleavage piercing, and I lean back and those dots spread apart, you can't heal it. It's the same thing with labia. There's a lot of movement in this area and it's tough to heal. To be honest with you, I think I saw someone heal it up with a curved barbell, not the surface bar or the staple like you're saying. I think that would help a little tiny bit for the factor that it's not going to get pulled.
Well, short enough jewelry. So like the staple shape, it's typically you would place that in a flat area that won't move too much, you know, so.
But with a curved barbell, it's way higher chance of rejection. The surface bar is definitely going to work better, but I don't see it really truly healing. You'd have to play around with a lot of placements on that one to make it work.
I'm a fan of just standard outer labias with curved barbells.
Yep.
That's the way to go. Not all this complicated surface stuff. I mean, I don't really feel genitals are... It depends on, obviously, where it is, but genitals and surface piercings just don't typically mix very well. So
yeah, it's pretty tough.
Yeah, even like the pubic
they
mound
look
piercings
cool.
Looks cool, but again, in my opinion, professional opinion, temporary.
And in a situation like this, you're absolutely right. You're probably only going to see one picture, one small thing. Just because someone did it doesn't mean everyone can do it and heal it up.
Absolutely.
You know, some people get lucky and heal things up. It's a cool piercing. If you already have a bunch of other genital piercings you're looking to add to, that's something that I would consider doing. But if you just walked in and said, hey, I want to get 2 surface piercings on my outer labias, I'd be like, no, not interested.
No.
So,
I mean, I would definitely look at anatomy and then probably advise to go with just standard. But
Yep.
Okay, Zulameza here. Venoms over snake eyes any day, in my humble opinion. Absolutely.
We're all on the same page here.
Yes.
Yep.
Dylan Metz, is it ever safe to put in a hoop as the first piece of jewelry for any piercing? For any piercing, no. For some piercings, yes.
Words.
Dock piercings, for example, we use hoops in just because we need it to heal facing outwards this way. Curved barbells can rotate. Septums.
We just talked about this the other day, didn't we?
We did.
We were talking like, oh, only dots. And I was like, no, because you got scrotum, septum, smiley, tongue web. Yeah, the list goes on and on.
The list goes on and on. It is
most piercings are going to be with bars.
Yeah,
but there's a few that can be done with rings.
Only because you need these to heal in a straight angle. So the difference of the jewelry, straight angle, labret post, certain piercings, you know, other piercings, we need it to heal at more of a curved angle. So
I thought her sound was going out. My earplugs are coming out. Earphones, not earplugs. Yeah.
Sarah Wardle. Hi.
I live in England and we are heading into winter. I have snake bites and a central labret, and I find the cold and wind make my piercing holes sore and irritated. Any advice?
Yep, seasonal changing comes with seasonal piercing changes.
I need to do some experiments, and I'm not sure how to do that, but titanium. I know titanium, when I pull stuff out of an autoclave, does not retain heat. The gauze around it and everything is going to be blazing hot because it just came out of steam, but I can pick up a piece of titanium jewelry immediately and it's cool to the touch. So does that mean it doesn't get as cold in the winter?
It cools down way faster, but sometimes the titanium jewelry I have felt is like, okay, this is still kind of warm. I just want to make sure it's not hot before I put it in someone's body. But it cools down way faster.
Does that mean it warms back up faster too? Like if you went outside?
I feel like with body heat, it matches temperatures really well. Titanium is really good with matching temperatures. So I feel like maybe it might soak up the cold. So, Sarah, it depends on, what jewelry you have in. Do you have steel? Do you have acrylic? Do you have titanium? What do you have in your piercing? So, I notice on some of my piercings during cold weather, when it starts to get cold and windy and everything, I have to wear more organic stuff like wood on my ears, because glass and stone and everything else like metals tend to feel way colder and make my ears feel chapped, and I have to moisturize extra during the wintertime. But it's just seasonal.
That's the key. The thing is during winter, I'm originally from Minnesota, and it gets brutally cold there, and I know it gets really, really dry in the winter.
Yeah.
So that's part of it too, is your piercings everything's kind of, it shrinks up a little bit, and because of the cold, and on top of that, your skin's getting extra dry. So make sure you moisturize it, and maybe change to the titanium jewelry. And like Kelsey was saying, I used to switch to wood plugs during the winter because metal stuff it's rough. Glass is going to make it worse.
Glass gets cold.
Yep.
Really cold.
So, yeah. So. But yeah, it said it went a bit wonky, but it's okay now. Yeah, that's basically what happens. It's real common for that. So just maybe scarf more.
Yeah, maybe scarf it up.
Mm-hmm. Jez, how long shall I wait to get my tragus re-pierced? Wait till it looks as good as normal as possible. Now, when you originally have a piercing and you take it out, you're going to see that redness around there. You're going to see the scar tissue. The more you get rid of that scar tissue and the more normal color you make that scar, the better your piercing is going to look. If you take it out and there's still redness and you pierce next to it, I personally find that redness never goes away, because you're putting pressure on a scar and it never really goes back to the normal coloration. I got my hiccups. There they are. So, yeah, every episode. So the thing is just massage it, break it down. I would say probably a minimum of a month, even several months, especially if you're using some sort of a scar tissue remover. All right.
Alexa, why not? I hope I said that right. Why not? How do you know when a navel piercing is fully healed? I'm at the 10th month mark, and sometimes I get crusties at the bottom. It's not too much, but how long can these crusties last for? Thank you.
It depends on the irritation. Are you wearing pants that are rubbing right up against it? When you sit down to your pants,
stuff that are applying compression to them and irritating.
Are you getting caught with rags, loofahs, or sponges in the shower? All these things can be factors, but generally,
is the jewelry too long?
Yeah.
You need to downsize?
You should be pretty close to the end. Generally, these are pretty well healed up by 6 months, but a lot of it depends on the clothes you're wearing.
Yep. Personally, my navel took... it was a good year of healing before it was like, okay, I'm good now. I'm not going to do this back and forth. Because navel piercings, they tend to go back and forth with looking okay one day and then looking really ugly. Sometimes people get that, like what we would consider like the rosebud piercing bump on the navel. I definitely had one for a while. But yeah, you just got to ride it out. Let it do its thing. Patience is key with piercings and babying, but not too much.
And Alice Durrell says, hi, Scott. Hi, Alice.
Hello.
Hope you're having a wonderful day. And happy November to everyone. Yeah. Gino MJ, my septum was done crooked and too low and far back. Pierre told me it was because my nose, and he would have
to go through cartilage if I wanted it any other way.
I disagree.
But I also don't know what your anatomy looks like. You might have the anatomy that I have run into a few times now, where the dense cartilage comes down on one side, but you can still pierce through a sweet spot. It looks a little funky, but to some inexperienced people, it looks really scary. So then they would pierce you way too far back or way too far forward. So
now your sweet spot is kind of like a teardrop, okay? the closer you get to the tip, the bigger the sweet spot is. The further you go back, it kind of tapers back into that point. So the fact that they said it's the sweet spot's further back, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. They probably didn't bring it enough forward, and sometimes it needs to be a little higher, sometimes a little lower, but that sweet spot's in the front of the nose. So, and it just does not look natural when it's that far back.
This is a good example of what I think your anatomy might look like. So this was done on a really good front. Let me see here. So the septum you can see was pierced nice and straight, but you can see here, let me try to zoom in on that. You can see here where the cartilage on this side comes down in a funky way, but I was able to pierce it nice and straight with the anatomy and avoid that. Let me see if there's another pic. There it is. That's a really good example. That is dense cartilage coming out of the side of their septum there. You can see it as I pull the tissue a little bit with this finger here.
Yep.
How it's white, that's a dense the dense cartilage of the septum. It just comes down kind of far. But there's ways of piercing that nice and straight and avoiding that. I've only ever seen that twice in 10 years I've been doing this. Yeah, and you can see it's pierced nice and straight with the anatomy, and it healed up perfectly. So, looks great. Yeah.
Yeah, situations like that when they sound so confident and it's just opposite of all the modern knowledge, it kind of scares me about the piercer. I don't know for sure, though. I'd really have to see your nose and see what the situation is, but you should be able to get it more forward. You should.
Yeah.
Weirdo W. I had to get an HCH when I wanted a VCH. Q-tip test said no. I still love my HCH and really appreciate the piercer's honesty.
Awesome.
I love that too. Now, a VCH is a vertical clitoral hood. HCH is a horizontal clitoral hood. Let's go to the right camera so I'm in there too. There we go. I'm back.
I know everybody wants to look at me, but just kidding.
But anyways, you're going to be doing a ring generally in an HCH where the bead rests on the actual clitoris itself. If you don't have the anatomy, don't force it to happen. So that was really, really cool. And that's the worst part of our job, is telling people you don't have the right anatomy for a piercing. You see the delay between the two cameras there?
Yeah.
It's throwing you off a little bit.
It threw me off. I was like, wait, it's still
I could tell you were confused. Yeah.
It's still looking at me.
So, but anyways, HCH is a beautiful piercing. I had a client come in the other day that wanted an HCH really bad and actually ended up having to get the VCH because they were better candidate for that piercing. So. And Glitter Menace 13. Hello, Scott and Kelsey. I love your channel. Thank you very much. I've never been able to catch you guys live. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I was able to get that whole sentence out. Any suggestions on nostril stretching? I'm an 8 gauge now and wanting to go up to a 0. Well, one size at a time for sure.
Slow and steady wins the race. You don't want to overstretch a nostril piercing. First of all, it's going to hurt really bad. And secondly, like if you blow that cartilage out, it is just going to look ugly forever. Don't do it. Just each size at a time. I know that sometimes once you go to the next size, you're like, wow, I didn't even feel a stretch. That is perfect. The fact that you don't really feel much of the stretch, sometimes you feel a little bit of a tightness or a little bit of a stinging, but then it's fine after a couple of days. You are doing what you're supposed to be doing. Do not overdo it.
The secret is use glass. A lot of glass companies are making half sizes in between stuff because stretching a nostril is not easy, because you made a crescent incision and you're trying to push cartilage out of the way. Earlobe's one thing where you kind of push that soft tissue, but trying to displace and move cartilage is not easy. When I had mine stretched, I had a friend that worked at a machine shop and he made me 3 to 4 sizes between each stretch.
Oof.
So, and it made it so much easier. It still hurt like hell. But I can't imagine going to the level of just straight up. I used a lot of organics. I was sanding things down, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So, Alice Durrell. Hey, Kelsey.
Hello.
And Simone Gar. Hey, do you guys know anything about
hypochlorous acid? It's amazing and barely has any recognition for its properties. I have not, but I will look it up just to see.
That's the yes. I've researched it. I know Elaine Angel really pushes it. This is a special spray that helps aid in the healing, this hypochlorous acid. I used it and I couldn't tell much of a difference. I prefer the Neomed. It's just old traditional ways. The thing I didn't like about the stuff in the hypochlorous acid is it doesn't come in a sterile bottle. So when it comes out, this comes out sterile every single time. The hypochlorous had a little pump thing. So I mean, as soon as you open it, nothing's really sterile. And I just like the idea of cleaning things with a sterile. So that was my problem. But I do know a lot of people love this stuff, and it really, really works well. I'm going to type it up here and see if I can pull a picture for you guys. I'm drawing a blank on the name of it, but I'm going to pass you over to Kelsey for a second.
So we've got Katrine. No question from me. I just want to say that you guys are awesome. Love from Katrine in Denmark. Thank you so much. We love having you here. And then we've also got Theophia. Just wanted to say thanks for the advice about my nipple piercing. That went wrong last time. Had it removed and done by another piercer, and it has thankfully been done correctly and less painful now. Awesome. We're really glad to hear that, and I hope that it heals up really well. Sounds like it's going to. So then we've got Sarah Wardle. I have titanium in all of my piercings. I will just have to suffer through this cold weather. Not fun.
You know what I did is I moved to the desert.
You know, you can get like little like ear mittens. So I actually have little mittens that go around when my ears have plugs in them.
All right.
And they're awesome.
Yep, works really well. We're going to go back to the hypochlorous acid. So you can see this one here, this Brio is the stuff that I was using before. It's exactly what I thought it was. Or the Brio Tech is, I think, is the one.
Brio Tech, okay.
That's the one that I was using before. But I have to do more research on this. It's a really good idea for a video, and it's going to really make me dive deeper into this to find out if this really does have better benefits as opposed to the sterile. Maybe the sterile thing isn't as important as this hypochlorous acid. So it's a great point that you bring this up. Yeah, thank you. All right. And
we've got Grega Senica. Greetings from Slovenia. You're the best. That's awesome.
Slovenia. Awesome. Wow. Welcome in. You're the first from Slovenia that I know of.
Uh-huh.
That's here in our live chat. I'm sure you're not the first Slovenian ever, but yeah, you know.
And Alice Dornell or Alexa, why not? Thank you, Alice Dorell. I am about to clock back in a minute. Awesome.
Back to work. Well, thanks for joining us. Yeah. We love having you here. Don't work too hard today. Piercer's orders.
Yep. Ellie Garrity. We've got, I'm someone who wears earplugs because of noise sensitivity quite often. Specifically, I use loops, which have an interesting shape. I'd like to get my conches pierced. I assume this isn't the smartest. It really just depends on the shape of the plug. So what I have had clients do is bring in the plugs that they normally would wear on a regular basis. I did recently have, I believe they were an electrician or they worked for some sort of company, and he brought his earplugs in just to show me how they sit. And unfortunately, because of the grade of like the earplugs that he had to use, they did cover majority of his conch. So piercing his conches were then out of the question. So I would take your earplugs for noise sensitivity. I would bring them into the piercing studio that you choose and see if you're still able to get them. And
the awesome thing is like you may love those ones, but you might need to find something different for the time being until you heal it up, and then you might be able to downsize and go back to them.
Ones, because we would recommend not using the same ones every single day, just like with facial piercings and masks, not wearing the cloth ones on a daily basis, like the same one. Using disposable during the healing process always works best. That way you're not continuously putting that bacteria or anything like just on your healing piercing. So maybe just get like a little pack of the disposable ones during your healing process. Might help a lot. So,
all right, and
Libby Doodles. I got my second lobe piercings a week ago.
Oops.
Oh.
What, Libby, is there more? I don't know. Well, congratulations on your second ones.
Yeah.
That's, if there was more, I don't see more to the question. So, but thanks for being here, Livy. And
hello. We've got, hi, first year piercer here. What length do you typically use for a floating navel? I've used 7/16, thinking I gave enough room for swelling, but a couple of clients needed bigger sizes later.
Now, floating navel piercings, there's a big misconception, like where people come in and say, oh, I'd rather have a floating instead of a regular traditional. It depends on the shape of your navel. Now, if you have a very deep navel with no ridge, you're kind of forced to go to the floating navel. If you have a natural ridge and it's not deep, you have to go with the normal navel. Now, a normal traditional navel, I traditionally pierce at a 7/16, which gives extra room for any swelling and whatnot. Now, for floating navels, I typically start at a 1/2 inch.
Yes.
Just because it's going to be deeper. So I've even gone to a 9/16, but it's tough to find jewelry longer than that. So try not to pierce longer than the 9/16 itself.
Don't pierce too deep.
But you're absolutely right. I do go a little bit longer than the traditional 7/16. You know, once they're healed up, they might be able to wear the 7/16 too, because the whole purpose is to have that jewelry tight where you only see the gem on the top and nothing on the inside.
Yeah.
So, and thanks for being here. Love having you here.
Yeah.
And Pierce Padre, dope setup. Thank you.
Heck yeah.
Thank you. This is one of the rooms in my house here. I got the whole room set up to a YouTube channel. You can't even walk in here. There's so much stuff. But I'm trying to get a good vibe here, and I feel like we finally got a good background here. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Marcus Rhodes. That's what I've been doing with my ears. I'm at 3 months. Awesome.
Cool.
And we got Trudy Miller. When someone books a jewelry shopping appointment with you guys, does the jewelry have to leave in the body, or can someone purchase jewelry to put in later? Yes, that would be, you know, you don't have to book for a jewelry change. So that's why we did the jewelry shopping appointments. That way you can come in, and especially people who already know what they want, they just want to come in and grab what they need and then go home and change it themselves. If you're comfortable doing it yourself, absolutely. If not, make sure you schedule it as a jewelry change so that we can give you that undivided attention.
Yeah, but the reason we do this is because we have a lot of jewelry to look at, and people need the time, and we are basically like, so if I'm working, I'm pretty much the only one in the shop that day. So if I'm back in the room with a customer, I can't help out other customers. And with the amount of jewelry, it's just, it just interfered with the other appointments. So it's one appointment at a time, and then also I'm allowed to help you that way. You know, it's like you're like, well, I kind of like this navel, but I don't like the. Well, this is some more options. Well, we can anodize, or we could add this gem instead of this. It gives you more options, and I can make sure you end up with the right piece of jewelry. So, but yeah, you don't have to have us put it in. If you want us to do jewelry shopping, if you just want to buy a bead, book the appointment. We're there to help you out. Thanks, Trudy. And
Riga Seneca, haha, that's so awesome. It's a small but beautiful country in Europe. You wouldn't believe how little the number of professional piercers are there. In our capital, there are like 2 or 3 good options. Oh. Wow. At least there's good options, though. You know, that's the positive way to look at it, is at least you have some reputable places. So.
Well, I mean, at the same time, it's like you're kind of not alone, because we're in Las Vegas, and I know there's over 400 shops here in Las Vegas. I don't know what the population is here, but I can count the good piercers on one hand. You know,
I can count the good shops on,
It's just, there's not a lot of great piercers. I'm not saying there isn't good piercers here, but if you're just like to pick a random shop and go, you're not going to have a good experience.
Yeah, you may not.
Yep. We're known as the tattoo capital of the world because all the tattoo shops and everyone just kind of, and the license for piercing here is the exact same thing for tattoo. They told me, like, well, why didn't you check the tattoo box when you got your license? You can tattoo as well. I'm like, 'cause I haven't been trained for it. Like, all you have to do is check it, and it's the same thing for, so if you're a tattoo artist, all you have to do is check it. Oh, I have a piercing license. And you wonder why your piercer did such a crappy job on your.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what happens.
That's one of the biggest, issues that we're having lately with our body art license being the same as tattooing is we now have like a bunch of girls that are now licensed like PMU artists, like permanent makeup artists. And they are also checking the body piercing portion. So legally they're allowed to pierce out of these permanent makeup studios, and they are just, I get their work in all the time. So if you're one of those girls and you're watching this, find somebody to properly train you. We have no problem doing so if we're taking apprentices, especially if it is something that you are very interested and passionate about. But yeah, just stop. You don't know what
Yep.
you're doing.
Just because you have a license doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't mean that you should do it.
All right, so we have about 9 more minutes before we are done here, so we're going to kind of try to start going through these questions a little bit faster. We love having all you guys here. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. And if you're in Vegas and you want to get pierced by either of us, set up an appointment. We have a shop called Piercing Vegas, and you go to piercing.vegas if you want to check out our website. You'll see pictures of the shop. They will be updated soon because the plants have gotten way bigger at our shop.
Yeah,
we have so many plants at our shop. It's just beautiful. I love it. I'm so
Majority
proud
of
of
people
it.
that walk in are like, I love that there's plants everywhere.
Yep.
We're plant parents.
Absolutely.
Alexa, why not? Another question I have. Double nostril piercing. First one is about 20 years old, but my new one pierced is mid-May. Or in May. I did have a bump on it, which is gone now, but I see almost a leftover mark of where the bump was. Will this mark subside, disappear over time, or do I do have implant grade titanium in? So it just sounds to me like there's a little
remnants,
slight darkening of the tissue around where the scar tissue, like that little piercing bump is, in other terms, considered a scar tissue. It will eventually lighten up.
It was done just in May, so yeah, just give it some more time.
Right. Fully healed, you can try to use what this stuff called Mederma. It works really well with lightening the tissue back up and relieving that scar tissue.
You cannot get that inside the piercing, though.
No.
You have to be extremely careful. Mederma gets rid of scar tissue, and that'll also get rid of the fistula, which is that tube of scar tissue. So if you're using something like that, you almost need to use like a really tight makeup Q-tip and just kind of only on that spot.
Just the dark tissue.
I personally would recommend staying away from it because if you get it on the inside, it's going to do more damage than help. So got to be careful with that.
Noted.
And I would say just give it some time. All right.
Sarah Lancaster, I have trouble with my double tragus piercings, wouldn't heal, bumps, etc. I took out the labrets and put in hoops as a final straw, and they healed within weeks. Awesome. It sounds to me like maybe they were pierced too close together, and the hoops kind of helped relieve that pressure.
Unless there were one on each side. I mean, I'm not sure what
on each side. So, I mean, everybody's different. Sometimes people heal really well with hoops and they have no problems. 9 times out of 10, though, people have issues trying to heal piercings with hoops.
Here's the other factor. A lot of hoops these days are made out of niobium, and niobium is on the periodical table of elements. So therefore, you could have had a reaction with one of the metals or what you had, and just changing up the metal could have been what you needed too.
Right.
So it's a possibility. Thank you very much, Sarah.
Jolene Jolly. Hey, I have a question. I hope you two would help me. My boyfriend had low piercings, but he also had acne, and it was causing problems on the lobes. Do you think he can redo them or change anything? Some people just, they have, acne-prone skin. I've definitely seen it in earlobes, just like the fatty tissue. I forget exactly the medical term for it. But I do know that there are such things as like steroid injections that you can get to kind of help. My mom worked in dermatology for almost 17 years. And as far as that goes, there are different ways, but that would be something that you would need to speak to a dermatologist about.
Legally, we're not supposed to pierce over acne or over like massive scar tissue and things like that. So it needs to be clear first.
Yeah, if we feel that in your lobes you do have that acne-prone or abscess-prone tissue, we can feel the bumps inside, we won't typically pierce through those because you can actually cause a lot of problems piercing through them. If you heal fistula in there, you're just constantly going to be draining this abscess acne stuff out, and it's may not heal properly.
And make sure your boyfriend goes to a professional piercer, not someone at the malls using a piercing gun. Get pierced with a titanium, and make sure you have the proper aftercare, which is like a wound wash spray, like one of these little sprays here. So that should help out. But again, make sure the acne and everything's cleared up as much as possible before you get re-pierced.
And then True Miller. So I could have bought that bat septum ring. Looks like my husband will have to take me back to the Vegas soon.
Yeah.
Yes. Come back and visit us anytime.
We just got this new clicker with a little bat on the bottom. It looks so. I almost didn't get it because I was like, I don't think this is going to look good. And we got it in. I'm like, no, that's keeper.
That's perfect.
We have more on order. Yep.
And then Taya Wicks, what piercing would you recommend that not many people have? You're both awesome, by the way. Thank you. Piercings that not many people have. I like transverse lobes. Not very many people have those, and they look awesome.
Okay, yes.
What other piercings would you think?
I like mantises. I'm really a huge fan of the mantis piercing.
Which are these forward-facing,
like the forward-facing.
piercings?
Yeah.
I did these ones.
They're fantastic. I love them.
Perfect.
We're getting close to getting some rings in there. I'm excited for that one.
I'm super stoked. They're going to look awesome.
What other ones?
Let's see. Transverse lobes. Not very many people get...
We don't do a lot of rooks.
But rows. We don't do a lot of rooks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, mantises is my vote.
Mantis piercings are cool.
All right. Punkstromer 101 RS.
Hi, in your experience, do you consider labret piercings a long-term piercing or not due to the risk of gum damage? And would you recommend a vertical labret any day over a standard labret?
Yes.
Yes.
I'd always recommend the vertical
labrets.
just because the chance of minimizing the damage.
No jewelry on the inside to irritate any sort of gums or tissue. A lot of times the reason why people do get the irritation or the erosion of the gums is because they're not really downsizing the jewelry during the healing process. And it is so crucial with oral piercings to make sure that you are up to date on your downsized jewelry during the healing process. It's just so crucial.
And here's the thing, a labret piercing is probably the one oral piercing next to a tongue where it's the easiest to play with. You can put it between your teeth, you can bite down on it. It's just right there. So if you downsize where it's nice and snug, it's less likely to get out of the habit of playing with it, which you could have long term. You could have it forever. There's nothing wrong with it as long as you have the right size jewelry in there. Yep.
Zulu Mesa here. I hope this isn't a silly question, but I just realized Kelsey does suspension. Super cool. Anyway, do you charge per time amount, or how does that generally work? That is something that you would need to direct message me about. I will happily answer any questions that you might have. But yes, I do suspension, and I suspend people. It's something I'm super passionate about, and I love it so very much. So yeah, just message me.
Cool.
Come out to Vegas. Sarah Lancaster, thanks. Yes, double tragus in the same ear.
Cool.
I think they were too close and the hoops allowed them to heal. Take care.
You were right. You were right. She called it.
And then Trudy Miller, do you guys ship jewelry?
Unfortunately, no.
No, we don't. It's just too much for us to do. If you would like to, you can look on bodyartforms.com. They have a lot of different styles and companies of jewelry that we carry in shop. Or if you see anything on our website that you're like, hey, I want to know where this is from, we will absolutely tell you where it's from and all that good stuff. That way we can send you the information and you can talk to your piercer about it, about ordering it.
Yes. And Zulima Zahir says thank you, and you are very welcome. Thank you to all of you who are here. This is where we're going to wind this up today. Again, my name's Scott. This is Kelsey. We work at Piercing Vegas in Las Vegas, and we try to do this every week, and hopefully we'll be able to get some more videos out real soon. So again, thank you so much for being here. Make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe, and of course, keep putting holes in your body. See y'all in the next video.
Yay!
I'm getting so much better at